Hello and welcome to Saki Tech. In this C++ tutorial number 13, we will talk about functions in C++. Now, I highly recommend that you go and watch my previous videos so you can understand this one better. And that is especially true for this module because this video will go into more details in regards to functions. So you should understand the basics at least before you dive into this particular module. So what we're going to talk about today is passing variables by value or by reference. Now the best way to understand what I mean by these guys is to show you a real life example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a function. Okay? So this function is not going to return anything. So you can say void. Void is a reserved keyword. If you type that in, it means the function is not returning anything. So then I'm going to create a print function, and the print function is going to take one parameter. The parameter is going to be an integer, anything, integer a, integer x, just keep it x. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the value 5 to x in the function, and then I'm going to print that value to the screen. I'm going to print x to the screen. Put a new line right here. So this is the function definition. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, if you watch my previous video tutorial, you copy this. Oops, I'm just going to use Control C on my keyboard, and you paste it above of the main function, and you put a semicolon. So this is the function prototype. Okay, so function prototype, and I forgot to put the comments. Okay, so we have a function definition and a function prototype. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this function in the main function, and I'm going to demonstrate what I mean by passing variables by value to a function. So let's declare a number variable right here. Okay, and let's say this number was assigned to 50, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to print number on the screen, and I'll put a new line right here. Next I'm going to call this function that I just defined. So all I do is I'm going to go down here and type in print number. Okay, and this is how you do a function call. Name of the function, parentheses, and the variable that you're sending down to the function. Now this variable is being sent down as value. I'm going to show you what that means. Let's type in one more code. I'm going to reprint number here. Okay, so what's going to happen here is the number, the variable number, was assigned the value of 50. So when I run this command, okay, you're going to print 50 on the screen. Now what happens when I run this command? I'm calling the function print, and I'm sending the number, the value of the number, down here to the function definition. So 50 is going to come here as a value. It's going to get assigned to x, and x is going to be 50 while we're here. The moment we skip down here, x is going to become 5. And when we print x, x is going to print 5. Okay? And then we're going to exit this function, and we're going to come back here. And we're going to reprint number. Did the value of the number change? No. It's going to reprint 50. And the reason that happened was because when we sent this variable number, this one right here, down to this function definition, we passed it by value. The variable itself stayed within main, but the value that was assigned to the number went down to x. X became 50, then x became 5, and then you printed that on the screen. Okay, so let's run this function real quick. Okay, build and run. Okay, it worked the first time, perfect. So you got 50, number prints, and then you call the function print. X becomes 5 even though we sent down 50, and then number prints again right here, but this time it's still 50. Okay, so when you send down any variable by value, okay, by value, it does not change the value of the variable at all. So by default, all the variables get sent down as values. What if I wanted to actually change the value of number? Okay, so the number variable here is local to the main function. What if I wanted to send this down, ship it down to the print function, and actually change the value? Okay, that's like sending something out to a company and you want them to modify it. When you get it back, you want the modified version. So same thing here. This is the main function. I'm going to take this value here and I'm going to ship it to the print function, and I'm going to tell the print function to modify my variable and give me back the modified version. So how do you do that? All you have to do is, it's not that hard, it's very easy. All you have to do is put an ampersand sign right in front of the data type of the variable. You do this in the function definition and in the function prototype. So you put the ampersand sign right here. Once you put that ampersand sign in there, right next to the data type, the compiler understands that you actually want to change the value of this variable. Okay, so let's save and run this and take a look at the output. So if I put this right here next to the code, in the beginning we have integer number 50. We print the number 50 on the screen, and you get 50 if you look at the console, this one right here. And then what I do is I use the function print and I send the variable number down to the print function down here. This time, because I have this ampersand sign, the variable is sent by reference. When you send a variable down by reference, you're not sending the value 50. Okay? You're sending the variable number down here. So what happens is X gets assigned number. So to put it simply, let me just type in here so you can understand. X becomes a pointer to number. So any changes you make to X will reflect in the number. Okay? Without going into details, you just have to know this. There's a reason behind this. It's an advanced topic we're going to talk about later. But right now, all I want you to remember is passing by value and passing by reference. If you pass a variable to a function by value, the variable itself doesn't change. If you send a variable down to a function by reference, the value of the variable itself will change. Okay? So don't try to learn C++ if you don't understand this concept. This is going to be very, very, very important concept. Okay? So let's finish this tutorial with an example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything off here. Take this off. Take this off. Take all these off. And I'm going to create a program that adds up two numbers. We're going to get an input from a user for two numbers. We're going to add those numbers up and we're going to print the result on the screen. I'm going to create 3 functions for this task. First of all, let's do this. Integer number 1 and number 2. Okay, and let me just initialize these to 0 for now. Okay, number 1, number 2, both initialized to 0. What I want to do is I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to create a function that gets input from user. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate total, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to print results, and we're going to do all our values are going to be passed by reference. All the variables will be down passed by reference, and as you can see, this is empty for now. Don't worry about that. Okay, let's start with the first function right here. Let's build that function. It's not going to return anything. I'm going to create void function get input from user, and it's going to take 2 parameters. Okay, so it's going to be integer A, integer B. And let me define the function. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user, please enter number 1, and then I'm going to read number 1, which is going to be A. Okay, so I'm reading the first number right here. Down here I'm going to do, please enter number 2, and I'm going to do read number 2. Okay, and I'm done. So I'm done with this function. What I'm going to do up here is I'm going to put in number 1 and number 2, and then I'm going to copy and paste this here above of the main function. This is the prototype. Oops, there we go. And don't forget the semicolon right after the prototype. Now I'm going to create a second function. Okay, and it's going to be called calculate total, which reminds me I have to have another variable, integer total. Okay, this is going to hold the value total. When I add number 1 and number 2, I'm going to assign the value to total. Now with this one, let's make a function. We're not going to return anything, so we're going to leave void, okay, calculate total. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 3 variables. This function calculate total is going to have 3 parameters. So in integer C, integer, A, B, integer C. Let's define this function. What it's going to do is calculate C is equal to A plus B. Okay, so it's going to get one value here, which is going to be number 1. This is going to be number 2. This is the total, and then total gets assigned to A plus B. And then I'm going to do a print results function. Before I do that though, let me copy and paste this here, okay, and put it up here. So I have a prototype, semicolon. Finally, I'm going to create a function. Again, void function, does not return anything. Print results, and this time I'm going to only print one value. I'm going to print total. So integer C. That's all I need to print. What I'll do is I'll do C out. The total is, okay, and then I'll put C. Put a new line. Okay, in fact, let me put one more new line behind this. Okay, so let's go back. Let's copy and paste this. Control C. Go up and put it at the prototype section. Save the file. Okay. Now, what am I missing here? Something I'm doing here is wrong. I'm sending all these numbers down to my functions, but remember, by default, they're being passed as value. I don't want to do that. I want to pass them as reference. I want to make changes to these numbers when I send them down to my functions down here. So I want to ship my products, these products right here, to different functions, and I want those functions to modify my product, modify my values in my variables. So how do I do that? I put an ampersand in front of each data type for each variable. So ampersand, 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 and ampersand. Now when you make a modification down here to the definitions, you have to go up and make a modification to the prototypes. So ampersand, 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 and ampersand. Now we're good to go. Let me just make sure this function has no errors. This program has no errors. So let's do a, oops, did I save that? I did. Something is wrong. We have this running. If you have a console window running, you cannot build that project. So you got to cancel this out. Now let's build this. It says there's one problem. Print results was not declared. Print results was not declared. Well, there's a problem in this program anyway because we haven't sent any parameters, and because C++ is case sensitive, the R that I put here does not match the capital R that I put here. So let me just change that to a capital R. Now calculate total sends down number 1 and number 2. Okay? And it also sends total. And then print result only sends down the total because that's all I want to print. So what's happening here is I'm running this first. I'm getting 2 inputs from a user. Number 1 and number 2 right here. Number 1 and number 2 will be sent down to my get input from the user function, and they're going to be passed by reference. So any changes made to number 1 and number 2 outside of main is going to reflect inside of main. Okay? Number 2, I'm resending number 1 and number 2 and total after I get number 1 and number 2 from the user. Then total, which is C, becomes A plus B. And A is number 1 and B is number 2. Alright? And then I just print the results. So let's just run this real quick and see what happens. Okay, there's another error here. We don't have a semicolon at the end of this statement, so we got to put that in. Okay, save file, build the project. Okay, and there's one more error left here. One error is at the bottom here if you look at it carefully. It says calculate total was not declared. And the reason that this function right here, it's saying it's not declared. Now if you look at it carefully, if you look at this very carefully, this says calculate. But when I was making the same function down here, I put in caclulate. So that's an extra L, right? C, extra C in there. Oop. There we go. Calculate. Let's make the change up here too. Okay. So all the name of a function in the prototype, in the call, in the main function call right here, and in the function definition have to match. So I think that was the last error. Let's save the file, build the program. Okay, no errors. So finally we can run this thing right here, and it's going to say enter number 1. Number 1 I'm going to say 10. Enter number 2, I'm going to say 20. And it says here the total is 30. So if you add up 10 and 20, the answer is in fact 30. Okay, so remember the concept of passing by value, passing by reference. It's very easy. When you want to pass by value, you just do your regular function builds. You don't have to add this ampersand. If you want to pass by reference, you have to add the ampersand. And what that does is it makes sure that the variables in main are allowed to be modified by outside functions. Okay? So these functions normally have no idea that number 1 and number 2 exist until you send it down to them. Okay? Because number 1 and number 2 are local to the main function. Just like A and B are local to this function. And just like C, A, and B are local to this function. And then C here is local to this function. So the C here has nothing to do with the C here. Okay, you remember that. The C here has nothing to do with the C here. The A and B here have nothing to do with the A and B here. These are local variables. Okay, same in main. Integer number 1 and number 2 are local variables, but you can ship them out to different functions and get them modified as long as you send them down by reference. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I know I did a lot of repeating, but that is important to understand concepts like these. You have to repeat, and you have to also practice a lot. Well, thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. Click the like button if you like this video. And thank you again for watching. Have a good day now.